for Vero Beach. We've had some questions this evening about how the agendas were put together, and I just wanted you to know, the council members to know, and all of the public that happens to be watching, that during the last break I had a little bit of an opportunity to meet with the mayor, Mr. Winger. And as I said at the beginning, there are things that I'm very grateful for, and one of the things that I'm very grateful for is people, even when they disagree, can sometimes work to move things forward. Mr. Winger has assured me that he knew nothing about the email, and he has assured me that he did not personally remove things from the agenda. I believe, as I always have believed, that he is an honorable man, and I want you to know that I take him at his word. And we will, in the interest of going forward, I wanted to tell you that he has assured me that both of those things are the case, and I do take him as word. And as to the procedures, there are procedures for putting things on and removing them from the agenda, and I have been assured that those procedures will be followed in the future. So I want to move forward.
So that's peace, right, Charlie?
Peace. Peace and love, right.
Thank you, council members. I'm Alice Johnson, 5470 East Harbor Village Drive, Vero Beach. I'm going to speak about the sale, and I just want to start by saying I think that Pilar did a great job earlier in demonstrating that there is no way that you can cut expenses and get to the rates that FPL can offer. So talk about that is just going to divert attention and energy from this sale, and I would ask that the council maybe refrain from that and don't make that a main agenda. My concern is that recently I've become aware of the balance sheet of FMPA, and FMPA has added $1.2 billion in debt to its balance sheet over the last 10 years. Vero Beach has interest in 3 power plants, St. Lucie Nuclear, Stanton 1 and 2 Coal. In 2002, the debt on those 3 assets was $516 million. Today, it's $687 million. There has been no increase in generating power. So the debt keeps going up, but the assets are the same. This tells me that probably FMPA is running at a deficit. And every year that we are part of it, we are becoming liable for a proportionate share of that deficit. So if our rates are already high because their rates are high, they can only go up. So, as another aside, the St. Lucie nuclear power plant in 1983, when it was built, had $290 million worth of debt to build it. Same size, same generating power, now it's 432. Those are scary numbers. Now, all 5 of you ran on a platform that said you supported the sale of the electric. And I just want to say that when you start talking about other things, a partial sale or cutting down this or bringing in outside people to run what we have, that's not supporting a sale. And I would ask you to remember that your voters, the people of this town, have overwhelmingly twice said, we want a sale and we want it on these terms. So please represent the people that voted for you. Thank you.
Good evening. Rosemary B. Wilson, 1490 Fifth Avenue. My first comment is, this city council should stop muddying the waters and put this sale together. It's up to you and FMPA to get this thing going. The other situation is, you know, Vero Beach opted out of 750 some time ago. But ladies and gentlemen, guess what? Olive, Florida is being promoted by 750 and has been for years. The Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council has been hijacked by 750. This is only the beginning, so get prepared. You haven't seen anything yet. You will watch real estate values drop in Indian River County because of Olive, Florida.
Thanks for your comments. Mr. Stradley.
Thank you, Mayor. Scott Stradley, 1797 14th Avenue. And I wanted to just follow up on, Mr. Mayor, you said that the procedures would be followed in the future with respect to the agenda. There was a motion, Mr. Kramer made a motion to bring this forward, this issue forward to this meeting, and it didn't happen. And so I would ask you to, or the council, to direct the staff what the procedure is. And I realize that you have the ability, any member has the ability to again make a motion to table something for another meeting. And I would hope that would be followed in the future. But I feel that there may be a need to bring something forward to the staff, the sense of the council, that when the council makes a motion to put something on the agenda, that it be put on the agenda. And then the council can deal with it at the next meeting, however they see fit. And secondly, tomorrow the Utility Commission will be reformed. And I know things are moving very fast. I'm going to, my intention is to make a motion. One of the things that we're going to do is to schedule our next meeting, and I want to try to get a Utility Commission meeting scheduled before the 2nd, so we can have an opportunity to flesh out the Florida Power and Light offer, or the status of things right now.
Thanks for your comments.
Good evening, Council. My name is Daniel Matson. I live at 6435 Patrice Lane in Vero Beach. It's a county resident. And if I exceed 3 minutes, please let me know, and I'll wrap it up really quick. I don't mean to do that. I came here today with the idea to just mention a few things about the sale. I support the sale. Everybody I know supports the sale that lives in the county. There's talk of interest, or the offer on the table is of an interest-free loan to the city for 4 years or 3 at their choice. So let's put this over here, break it into 4 years. That's $6.5 million a year. $6.5 million a year over 4 years. On this side, let's put the savings. We have $25 million a year. That's the latest study done by FPL. $25 million a year for 4 years. Now we have $100 million in savings. Over here, we have to pay off 26. So our net gain is $74 million. How would anyone not go for this deal? There is nothing the city can do to improve or to decrease their rates by more than 1% or 2%. We're going to give an immediate 16% cut in rates to the ratepayers. I urge you, and I'm glad to hear you say, Mayor, you're supporting this sale, because there's a lot of misinformation, maybe. We'll see. The other thing is, I don't have a city council. I'm a county resident. I don't have a city council. So I consider you my city council when it comes to electric rates. There's 33,000 ratepayers, and how many meters? 33,000. How many ratepayers, customers? 33,000. I hear that number all the time. Well, 21,000 of us live out in the county. We don't have any representation. And I heard a question at the last meeting asked, why doesn't the city fall under the Public Service Commission? And I think the counselor answered one of you with, because the people have a vote. So they can vote and change the current situation. Well, we don't have a vote in the county. And so I'm addressing you with my concerns. The other issue is those 33,000 or whatever it is ratepayers. I wish each of you would take a ride around in our county. There are many of them are struggling. Many, many, many homes. Drive up and down these streets and look at these homes. What do you think $50 a month is going to mean to these people? These senior citizens who might have their mate in a wheelchair. Or they might have kids that are around their feet as they open up that bill and they're just like, oh, can't buy this, can't give them shoes, can't. That's happening. You have to care about it. You have to feel for those people. You have to put that into the equation. You cannot ignore it. You're their representatives. You can't just think about, oh, taxes might have to go up. Vero Beach has the lowest tax rates almost in the state of Florida. They're subsidized by me and the ratepayers. The ratepayers put more in the general fund than the taxpayers put in the general fund. And that ain't right. This sale is a good thing for everybody. It's good for Vero Beach. Vero Beach has turned into a Pottersville. It's a wonderful place. Let's bring it back to Vero Beach again. You all have a chance to make a difference. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments. Next person, please.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Sartain. I am the executive director of the Buggy Bunch in town here in Vero Beach. First of all, thank you for having me. The Buggy Bunch is the largest nonprofit in the state of Florida for moms and families, and it happens to be located right here in Vero Beach. We have over 3,000 moms just in Vero Beach, which is kind of cool. The reason that I'm here tonight, and two things that I'd like to speak to you about, is first of all, focusing on industries in Indian River County, and secondly, supporting families in our community. And the three things that I want to talk to you about tonight address those two things. First of all, we would like to ask permission, the Buggy Bunch, to provide or donate a baby changing table for Riverside Park for the women's restroom, a commercial grade. So it's just something that I would like you guys to think about. There are no baby changing stations in the park at all, which leads to a lot of nasty problems that don't have to exist. Secondly, I would like to invite you to JC Park on April 3rd, which is a Thursday, around 12:30 for a ribbon cutting. The Buggy Bunch is donating a $20,000 sunshade to go over the park equipment, the playground equipment at JC Park. So I'd like to invite all of you out for that. The city has been very kind to store the shade for the last couple of months and are working diligently to get that up before April 3rd. So I thank the city for that. And then lastly, you have in front of you a brochure for Kids Blast, which is a one-day outdoor hands-on children's event that focuses on industries and education, specifically history, science, math, and English. It will probably be one of the largest children's events anywhere around our community. Again, it's one day, May 17th from 10 to 5 p.m. And I would like to invite you guys to participate in that. We have over 100 local businesses that are already participating, churches, nonprofits, and the event is based on zones, which focus, again, on education, art, and industries in our community. We want to make sure that we're educating our children and our families on what our county has to offer, and to make sure that kids learn and grow and get excited about the things that are going on right here at home, and maybe come back and use the education that they receive to invest back into our community. I did place a letter in front of you that was written to Mr. O'Connor requesting that we are allowed to have small animals in the park on May 17th. This would include like aquatic animals from the Environmental Learning Center or Harbor Branch, maybe some small ducks or hamsters from veterinarians, etc. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor?
Before you go away, Mr. O'Connor, what do we have to do to give her permission to put that changing station in? Do we need a building permit, or does it fall outside
There
of that?
will be a permit required because it's a modification of a restroom, but I would like her to work with Rob Slezak, and she has a very good working relationship with him to make that work. And
I just
don't
wanted to
see
make
problem.
sure there was a vehicle forward.
And also the small critters that the kids will make that happen as well.
Just out of
Okay.
respect, I like to ask, and I promise
And
you
I
that
do appreciate that, seriously.
the professionals will be there. I'm not taking care of the animals. I'm not. I am ultimately responsible for everything, but we will make sure we have professionals there, as well as we leave the park nice and clean afterwards. So.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
And Ms. Sartain, you said April 3rd at JC Park.
That's
what time
correct.
for the
12:30.
12:30.
Yes, ma'am.
Fantastic, and thank you. That's such another great gift for our community.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Herron?
Good evening, Council. Glenn Herron. I live at 1964 Gray Falcon Circle Southwest. And I just wanted to say the public, I think, is aware that I've been involved in the sale of the electric utility to FP&L since 2008. And I've always been open about my position to sell to FP&L from the get-go. And I've also been open about, I've known that the FMPA has always been the problem, that this is the final hurdle that we have to deal with. And I think in this community, leadership also knows that the FMPA is the problem. There also, leadership in this community is generally for the sale. For example, in the Board of County Commissioners today, for probably the seventh or eighth time on this particular issue. It was a 5-0 vote in support of the sale, also in support of getting us out of the FMPA and even taking the FMPA exit penalty, because we know how much, in terms of economics, that this means to our community. So they're in support, and 5 county commissioners are in support, 5 Shores council members are in support. Craig, we know where you stand. We've known where you stood all along. You are for the sale, and you've also known the FMPA is a problem. Pilar, we know where you stand. You've always been for the sale. Jay, we know where you stand.
I started, yeah.
Yeah. So the only question left is, on this particular council, we know that we have 2 solid supporters of the sale. The only question remaining is, Mr. Winger, Mr. Graves, Mrs. Graves, where do you stand? I mean, I know you said in your platform, I know you came to the Taxpayers Association last year, and as part of your platform, you said, this is a done deal, and this is between Florida Power and Light and the FMPA. One of my questions was, well, it's actually between the City of Vero Beach and the FMPA. Where do you stand on that? And so my comment to you is, it's not enough for platitudes. It's not enough to say that you are for the sale. If you don't do anything to defend us from the FMPA, if you don't do anything to get us past this final hurdle, leadership in this community understands that they are the problem, and you must defend us from the FMPA. Your choice is to capitulate to the FMPA and kill the sale. So again, I ask you both, are you with us? Are you with us in supporting the sale and getting us out of the FMPA?
Mr. Herron, Mrs. Graves doesn't have to answer. You can direct questions to me. She can answer if she wishes. But I wrote in my comments 2 weeks ago, it's much the best solution that we could have. I mean, we need to make the sale happen. It's my only reason to take the risk of trying to make it happen and trying to get involved. And what I said before is accurate. The agreements that we have that are the problem were signed by the city, not by Florida Power and Light or anyone else. And I'm not so. And somebody earlier said, I thought it was kind of interesting. I don't think the city's been engaged enough in finding a solution to those agreements. Really, quite frankly, I mean, we've put it off on Florida Power and Light and so on. So I'm absolutely for it. I've said it. You know, what I would do is get it sold. I would take the working capital and I would defease the pension, and life goes on in Vero Beach without any significant effects to service or taxes. I won't say none. I can never say that. So I don't have any question. It's the better solution. However,
well, I certainly wish you well on the
let
second.
me finish.
Yeah.
However, it takes FMPA and Florida Power and Light. It takes an agreement, and it takes us satisfying whatever it takes to make that happen. I can't assure you, and I don't know what it takes to do that. I just simply don't.
Yeah, I think it's more, Dick, that we're looking for your position that you will defend us against the FMPA. It's not just, hey, I support the sale and we'll see how it goes. I mean, we know where 2 of the council members stand. They're fighting for the public to get away from this organization, and I think you have to have that commitment if you're going to get through this deal.
Mr. Chairman, I think, I studied the file, and as you know, the books are that thick now on this in the last 2.5 years. I've studied all the contracts, and I do believe that it is possible to complete the sale. But I can't assure you that will happen. I just don't know. And I will do what I can. That's all I can tell you.
Well, I certainly wish you well on the second. Mrs. Graves, did you want to respond?
Ms. Graves, thank you. I'm with the mayor on this, and as far as defending from the FMPA, I don't know what it is you're looking for. Do you want me to go stand in the street and shout? Because essentially that's what a lot of people are doing right now, and that's not getting us any closer to finishing this process.
Well, what are you going to do?
I'm going to follow the mayor's direction. He's going in April to the FMPA. He's going to come back and report back to this council with after that meeting, and tell us what's going on. Then we'll know from there where we need to go. But, I'm sorry these things aren't happening on your timeline. I'm sorry they're not happening on the entire community's timeline. Obviously, this is a lot harder than anyone thought. I mean, the reality is this was supposed to happen in January of this year. and it didn't. You have all of these experts working on this. You're spending all of this money to get it done, and no one seems to come up with any answers. So what do you think it is that I could do singly that all of these experts and these large organizations haven't been able to pull off?
Is that what you want to tell the public?
That's what I'm asking you. What do you think it is?
Your job is to defend us. Your job is to try to
My
execute
job
the
is
sale.
to represent the voters of Vero Beach. My
And
job
what did
is
they
to
say?
work
What
here
did the voters of
Mr.
Vero
Herron,
say?
I am asking you to let me finish speaking.
Please.
My job is to represent the voters of Vero Beach, okay? My job is not to be emotional and accuse people of things. It's to gather facts. And right now, that's what we're doing. That's what the mayor's trying to accomplish. That's what everyone's trying to accomplish here. And that is my answer. I'm not going to be bullied or strong-armed into saying what it is you want to hear. I apologize for that. I am saying...
Now, wait a minute, Mr. Herron. This has gone far enough. She stated her position. You asked it. We're through. Okay?
Well, I wish you well, Mr. Winger, on this.
And I not only wish, pray. I mean, the reality is we have a difficult situation.
No question about it.
And
but the point I'm trying to make is you must be committed to getting us out of the FMPA. And I don't hear that from you, Mrs. Graves.
Well, no, wait a minute. No, I'm going to cut that off. I think I heard it, and I am committed. So let's let it go with that.
Good luck on the second, Mr. Winger.
Mrs. Fry.
Good evening, Council. It's nice to see you all again, and congratulations on your rearrangements of the seats since I've been here last. I'd like to address, it seems to be a night for numbers, so I'll be brief, but I'd like to address some of the financial truths about the trains. I guess when we were children, we liked to play with trains, and why this remains a fascination with adults. As adults, it's puzzling. It's probably because we don't look behind the curtain to see what this habit is costing us. On close scrutiny, it turns out that passenger trains are consistent in one area only: eating up tax dollars. It is equally as puzzling to try to understand why All Aboard Florida would intend to add a passenger train on top of two passenger train routes that are already hemorrhaging money. We already have Tri-Rail operating between Miami and Palm Beach. Their total operation revenue for 2013 was $12,575,652. That's the good news. The bad news is that their total operating expenses were $100,249,658 for an operating loss of $87,674,006. $30,214,462 of this is attributed to depreciation of assets. So the true loss for Tri-Rail is only $58 million for 2013, yet Tri-Rail continues to operate. It is nice to note that they get the support of the federal, state, and local tax dollars to stay in business. How much of this money would be better spent on education, emergency services, medical advances, or other areas that service our citizens? Let's look at Amtrak, which has state-supported routes and long-distance routes. Their 2013 budget statistics show 15 long-distance routes operating at an average loss of $40 million per route each year, for a loss of $600 million per year. Amtrak's Auto Train lost $48 million this past year with 34 core employees. That equals a loss of $1,412,000 per employee. On its state-supported routes, it only loses $100 million per year. Amtrak Silver Star, operating from Miami to Fort Lauderdale to West Palm and Orlando, lost $47 million with no ridership. Where does the money come from to support these staggering losses? According to Amtrak records, they receive $415 million from federal appropriation support known as taxpayer dollars. But look at the bright side. Their projections are for only a $2 billion loss over the next 5 years. So, in closing, one would wonder why yet a third company would even consider establishing rail service on routes already served that are hemorrhaging money. All Aboard Florida touts itself as being a private company, yet as of March 13 of 2013, Karen Headland, Deputy Administrator of the Federal Railroad Administration, confirmed that All Aboard Florida has applied for a $1.5 billion government loan. No surprise there. Not one passenger rail system in the entire country operates at a profit, which begs the question, why would All Aboard Florida insist on a loss on investment plan? If they like to play with trains as adults, they should not ask the taxpayers to pay for their toys. It was nice to see you. Thank you for your time. Good night.
2 minutes and 53 seconds. Thank you so very much.
Good job.
Joseph Cafonte, 441 Road. I'm not quite sure what this is about, this section. Is this the total?
This is any public comments you would like to have,
Any
sir.
public. So this is the public comment section,
Yes.
not specifically, as was stated, aimed at the electric situation.
No,
Okay.
I think we moved
All right.
off that. Whatever you like to say is fine.
I have a letter here from Nicholas, whatever his last name is, from FMPA, and he complains that I'm reading here, FPL's responses were unworkable and unacceptable, yet this same character decides that he doesn't want to meet with FP&L. That's very interesting, a closed-minded guy that is running the show here. And no wonder, with that kind of thinking, no wonder why it's costing us 30% more. He's a real gem in our community. On the railroad, excuse me, there is no high-speed train in Colorado. There isn't one. They looked into it. It cost them $5 million, to find out that it would cost $30 billion to run a high-speed train to a couple towns, and you know the population of Colorado is sparse. And I guess the railroad there didn't have a governor who was willing to launder money from the public's tax payments over to a private corporation. The people in Colorado are kind of lucky in that respect. The second thing is Fortress. Fortress is a publicly traded investment firm. Fortress owns the railroad here, the people that are going to supposedly do this thing. I doubt very much if it's going to be done. Your money, all your money, and all the money that's collected from the politicians through Governor Scott and anybody else is going up to the 46th floor on 6th Avenue on 56th Street in New York. I was there a week ago. I could have stopped by and said hello to him. Oh, no, I was on 65th Street. I'm sorry. So anyway, that's where your money's going. Who are these people? They came from Goldman Sachs, UBS, and Brian says they came from Fannie Mae, and probably some other criminal organizations. These are the people that are going to take our tax dollars when this fiasco that probably is planned not to work. And you're not going to get a rebate for all the money you spent and all the money that you propose to ask the state for. 3, people are misinformed. The mayor himself just said he was thoroughly confused. The public most certainly is thoroughly confused because of the inadequate reporting of the press. It's almost a joke. Actually, it is a joke. Mark and Uncle Milty's offering is akin to, it reminds me of the old Mad magazine back in the 50s. It's too bad some of you aren't old enough to enjoy that. It even has a reasonable facsimile to Alfred E. Newman. And you can look at the latest issue and see to whom I refer. And the fourth thing is, no, I better not say that. You people are very, very disappointing, to say the least. And I will say this, though. Before the election, I called 3 people, Red Palmer, Ed, formerly of the Press Journal, and the 32963 lady. And I told them this. that, this is my prediction, I'm not a soothsayer, that Winger, the whatever her name is, Graves lady, and Kramer are going to vote no when the chips are down, and the sale will not go through. That was my prediction. And and any of you, especially the mayor who purports to be in favor of this thing, surely has the public fooled.
Thank you for your comments.
You're very welcome.
Would you come forward, sir?
Scott Kavanagh, 740 35th Avenue, Southwest, Vero Beach, Florida. I'm here on behalf of the Vero Beach Lifeguard Association. Just want to do just a very quick report. The highest attendance within Vero Beach Lifeguard Association's recorded history was of February, was this last February. Also, we want to thank the City Recreation Advisory Board Committee members for recommending that the Humminston Tower stay open an extra hour. So hopefully that'll come through. I don't know if you guys were supposed to address that tonight or not. I know it's been a little busy. And that's about it for what we're trying to do out on the beach, is extend Humminston even a little bit, maybe a little earlier from the normal hours of operation. The situation on Humminston is that out of all the guarded beaches in the city, you have the greatest population of visitors that aren't acclimated to our local conditions. So that's, to my mind, should be a tower of great concern as far as the hours of guarding. Plus, people will go there and swim anytime because they're down for spring break or whatever the case. So just something to keep in mind.
Mr. O'Connor, any comment about that?
Yes, sir. It's my understanding the Recreation Commission is recommending that to the City Council. As you know, it is not in our budget for this year. It could be something taken up under considerations for next year if you wish to include those increase of hours.
Will somebody come forward with the cost? It may not be that material.
Yes, sir. They will.
Your point's, I think, well taken. People can get in trouble after 3 o'clock.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Mr. Daig, could you make it short, please?
Yes. Ken Daig, 1846 21st Avenue, here on a rail issue. I had asked you before on one of my points, number 4, of sending an encouragement letter to Senator Negron on securing funding. Are you willing to do that? Because I need to bring an answer back to the commission.
What's the sense of the City Council? I personally have no problem with it.
I think you actually adopted a resolution already.
We did.
The resolution that they didn't mean to interrupt
to the
attorney.
legislature.
The resolution, last time I checked on it, that all the cities sent, and they copied some of the nomenclature that you all had, no one picked it up. It's just kind of hanging out there, as far as I know. So Senator Negron is the one that's looking into it, so it was told to me to send an encouragement letter to him that you are interested in securing funds.
Mayor?
Yes.
Interestingly enough, I just came from an Economic Development Council meeting where they did an update where Negron did speak on that issue. It sounds like Negron is actually trying to broker some deal with the railroad where they pay half and the state
That's
pays
correct.
half. That is something that I would definitely support.
Okay, and whatever you guys want to do, if you're in favor of that, I need to let the commission know that you're okay with sending some type of letter, whatever your pleasure is on that. Okay,
Yeah,
we got
who wants, if the City Council is agreeable, I have no trouble signing a letter. I don't know who would write it. And I don't know whether
I can write a rough draft and send it to the mayor for you all to look at, to do your input. How about that?
Proper way?
And then however you wash it out, you wash it out. But I'll send in some points, take a look at it, go, whatever you want to do.
It would accompany the resolution.
Right. My thing is just to get something going. And two, just real quick, as I told you before, all the commission members on that commission are working very hard. Mr. Hetty had brought up a couple of situations that, if you go back in the record and look, it was about the resolutions and the points that we are to address. We did address that, came to a consensus. We know what we're doing. We also have an attorney that sits on there. Rail law is not his expertise, but he's been very helpful. So everybody on there is doing a very, very good job. We all have our input. So I don't want you guys to get the wrong idea that we're not really trying to work real hard for you all to get you the information and do everything that you charged us with.
Thank
So,
you,
anyway.
Mr. Daig. Is it the consensus of Mr. Daig and Mr. Comic can draft a letter and that I can sign it and send it?
Yes.
along?
Yes.
Is that agreeable with everyone?
Yes.
And I will say this, if you look at 4, I'll stay within the guidelines of number 4 on here. You know what I outlined already, if that's okay.
All right. I hope that concludes public comment. Looks like it does. So I will close public comment. That will move us to the adoption of the consent agenda. Anyone would like to pull that item or
Move to adopt as presented.
Second.
Just one change. It's not 2914, that's 2014.
Oh.
It's kind of like a budget.
Yep.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. All right, we'll move on to public hearing. Now, this public hearing is,
Not quasi-
I will read it, but is this a first reading or?
This is the final.
This is the final, okay, thank you. An ordinance of the City of Vero Beach, Florida, updating the capital improvement schedule of the comprehensive plan's capital improvements element for fiscal year 2013-14, 2017-18, providing for conflict severability, providing for an effective date, requested by the Planning and Development Director, and this is staff comment time.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the record, I'm Tim McGarry, the Director of Planning and Development. As I explained to you before, this is just a housekeeping measure to update the capital improvements in our capital improvements element, and it really doesn't amend the plan, it just updates it. So unless you have some questions of me, open it up for the public hearing.
Yes, is there any public comment about this? Seeing no one, I'll close public comment. Council comments. No.
Move to adopt.
Good. Second. I'll let you.
All in favor?
Aye. Roll call.
Takes a roll call.
Oh,
Needs
I'm
roll
sorry.
call.
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mrs. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Winger?
Yes. All right, that moves us on to 3B, a resolution. What hearing is this, please, Tammy? This is second?
This is
Final
final.
Final, okay. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Vero Beach, Florida, designating the geographic area of historical downtown Vero Beach as an economic development zone and tax increment area, providing for an establishment of an economic development trust fund for such economic development zone, providing for conflict and severability, and providing for an effective date requested by the Planning and Development Director, Tim.
Oh, thank you. As I pointed out at the first reading, this is a request of the ad hoc committee that was formed from the Main Street organization. They're requesting a designation of historic downtown Vero Beach economic development zone and the establishment of a trust fund for that zone. Within the proposed zone are parcels totaling 276.32 acres. I'm sorry, I'm tired.
Understand.
Which is actually about 0.4 tenths of a square mile. The total tax value of the property is approximately 9% of the city's total taxable value. As I pointed out before, there to be no funds will be available for the trust fund until the economic development plan and the tax increment resolution are approved by the City Council. And part of what you're going to do later in this evening would be to appoint an advisory committee for this to actually do the economic development plan. So unless you have some questions of me, if you wouldn't mind, I would just like to ask Peter Jones to come up here with the Peter was with the chair of the
Yeah, and we'll open public comment in general.
Just a second,
and then
I think
come
I have
back
some questions
to
here.
council questions, if that's okay with you, Ms. Smith.
I did have some questions, but Mr. McGarry, you want to wait till later? I can wait.
Yeah,
till
you
I
wait,
can wait
Mr.
till
McGarry.
the Jeff's
Don't go away.
finished.
Mr. Jones.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. For the record, my name is Peter Jones. I reside at 1590 South 42nd Circle here in Vero Beach. And I thank you all again for this opportunity to stand before you on behalf of the many individuals. This Main Street has always had an interest in downtown, obviously, as you well know, but this came about from many individuals outside of Main Street and certainly within Main Street. But I'm here representing the ad hoc committee and individuals who have invested a substantial amount of time and resources over the last 2 years in the process of seeing the economic development zone become an ordinance and now standing before you this evening. and all in the best interest of the city's economic well-being. We urge your approval of the resolutions before you this evening because we support and value the language in the Economic Development Ordinance itself, which speaks to the promotion of economic growth, resulting in higher wage jobs and the diversification of the economy of Vero Beach. It's not about adding layers of government. It's about a public-private partnership, active, informed participation in our government. And we recognize that this is the beginning of a process that requires efforts and responsibilities for all participants. With regard to the fiduciary responsibility, the Economic Development Zone Ordinance language takes great care to provide City Council with final authority and approvals of proposed improvements and expenditures. Past comparisons to Fort Pierce make no sense whatsoever. As far as the area of the proposed zone itself, as has been discussed, perhaps size does matter here. The geographic area of the proposed historic downtown Vero Beach Improvement District echoes the very intent of the Vero Beach Vision Plan, and the ad hoc committee took that into consideration. That plan, again, to remind you, spoke of reinforcing downtown as a mixed-use office, employment, and government center, as well as a unique cultural, arts, entertainment, and residential enclave, with shopping and dining opportunities that support the district and its surrounding neighborhoods. So thank you again. Thanks to all of you who here at the city who have been so supportive and helpful. And thank you to my colleagues on the ad hoc committee and Main Street and our supporters of this resolution. I urge your approval, and thank you very much for your consideration.
Does anyone have questions for Mr. Jones? If not, we'll move on to further public comment, and then we'll come back to questions of Mr. McGarry. Is there any further public comment? Seeing none, Mr. McGarry, I believe Mrs. Turner has a question for you. Maybe several.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Mr. McGarry, we,
Yes, ma'am.
a city of 13 square miles. We take the airport out. We've got about 9 square miles. So now we are creating a special tax district for half a square mile within our 9 mile. I mean, what if Ocean Drive lines up and does the same thing, or Miracle Mile? Do we have any estimates of what the percentage of our tax base those two areas would cover? Because we're setting dangerous precedents here.
Well, let me, before I go, the city adopted the ordinance to allow these kind of things, okay? That was, and we had discussion about this. So with that being said, certainly as these come in, you have full authority how to gear these down, because obviously the Miracle Mile and the ocean side will have a bigger tax bite than this area.
Absolutely, and I think we need to find out what those are.
But they still have to do an economic development plan. You make a determination of how much of the taxes they're going to get depending on that plan or not, and we'll be looking at the project. So I feel the council has plenty of leeway, but again, we talked about it. It is going to be political when you get down to these decisions. But as I said, I think that this is an opportunity for them, that you do have these control mechanisms in place that you can protect the tax dollars of the city. But that is something you would have to. The more of these come in, that would be an issue. I agree.
Great. So we'll set up a committee for downtown. Then we're going to have another one for Ocean Drive. Then we'll have another one for Miracle Mile. And then it all has to come back to the city council. I mean, we're setting up so many more layers and confusion for a city of 13 square miles. I mean, remember the size that we are.
Well,
I
understand, and I think part of the whole idea is to get the stakeholders in those communities behind this to come up with the economic development plan, what they were, rather than out of the city. I mean, that was the intent of doing it this way.
I mean, I've always been a great supporter of downtown. I'm delighted to see the things that are going forward. But once again, I think it's private property owners. I mean, we're given a handout. You know, they're getting special treatment in this particular area and not in others.
Well, I think you can hold them to a standard. I mean, as I said, they have to do an economic development plan. If that plan is just based on what they can get out of a tax increment financing, that isn't going to be going anywhere. I can tell you now just because there isn't enough money, unless there's big investments going on, there isn't going to be a big increase necessarily in the tax base. And I think it all depends on the people behind doing that economic development plan, how committed they are, and they're going to have to come back to you and show you, this is what we want to do over this spurt of time, these are the projects, this is how we're going to fund it. We're going to use some private funding, we're going to do this. I don't know how it's going to work. I'm not writing this plan for these people, and that was the whole intent of having these.
You're setting up another.
It's also important that money stays in the treasury of the city. We have the right to use the money. If we go out and determine that drainage is a critical issue, you don't have to take the recommendation of that advisory group. You can go out and do the drainage improvement. The money never leaves the treasury of the city. What you're doing is getting additional input from the people that are directly affected, typically speaking.
But we're setting up another commission that will have to have a clerk or whatever there for take minutes and set, it's just, setting up another layer of government.
Well,
I said my piece.
I would have a difference of opinion with you, but is there further useful comment? I mean, I'll give the opposite side of it, but I won't bother because I'm for it. I'll ask for a motion or.
I motion to.
Was closed, Charlie, unless there's some.
I just had one question.
Go ahead. What the heck?
I could see that this is going to pass, but I just had one question. Have we made a way of getting out of this? If it does happen, do we have an exit? Haven't we found enough of these cases where we have no? How do you?
The council.
What kind of prenup do you have to be able to dissolve this district?
Here, Mr. Kramer's going to answer.
It's done by by resolution or whatever. You can pull it any time.
So a future council with 3 votes abolish this.
This is not a CRA or its own entity. This is still under the.
So a future council with 3 votes. That's all I needed to know.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
And actually, the authorizing.
That was actually, quite a good question. Not that your questions aren't good. Do I have a motion?
Yes, motion to adopt as presented.
Second.
We need a roll call on this.
Yes. Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mrs. Turner?
No.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Winger?
Yes. All right, we move on to 4 resolutions. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Vero Beach, Florida, establishing the historic Downtown Vero Beach Economic Development Zone Advisory Committee, establishing committee organization, procedure, authority, and duties, providing direction to the city clerk, providing for conflict and severability, providing for an effective date requested by the Planning and Development Director, Mr. McGarry.
Okay, this is the companion resolution to the designation. Basically, you establish a 5-member board with 2 alternates. They would have to be property or business owners or the representatives of a property or business owner. Their first order of business would prepare the economic development plan, which is essential to make this thing to get going. It'll operate under the city sunshine rules, and the city clerk would be doing the clerical support. So there is some cost to the city in this.
Public hearing. Seeing no public hearing, council discussion.
Move to adopt as presented.
Second.
Mrs. Bach?
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mrs. Turner?
No.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Winger?
Yes. All right, we move on to 5, first readings by title for ordinance and resolutions that require a future public
We have
hearing.
You missed one.
We added a C.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We also have 4B.
You have 4B.
Yeah.
4B and
Okay,
4C.
4B, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Vero Beach, Florida, abandoning all City of Vero Beach interests in a portion of that certain utility easement recorded in deed book 98 at page 47, all being part of the public record of St. Lucie County, Florida. Said land now lying and being in Indian River County, Florida, requested by the Public Works Director.
I can speak on behalf of this real quick because it's an easement we have no further use for, and there happens to be a house on the easement.
Good planning.
All right, any public comment? Seeing none, I'll close that. Council comments or motion, as the case may be.
Move to adopt as presented.
Second.
We need a roll call on this.
Yes. Yes, sir. Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mrs. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Winger?
Yes. Okay, first readings.
We
by-
have C.
I don't have a C.
Yes, we
That's
added
the
it in
added.
agenda.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mrs. Turner. But what is the resolution?
It's a resolution for assistance to.
Do you want to read the resolution, Mrs. Bach? Because I don't have it here. I have
Yeah,
a
it's
backup for that.
kind of a different one. It's a resolution for assistance, 2014, under the Florida Inland Navigation District Waterways Assistance Program.
What we're doing is asking for authorization to make this grant application. This would add a restroom onto the river house, and one of the fine commissioners helped us and notified us of the possibility of acquiring this. We have a lot more boat use down there, and we're also with the dog park. I think the restroom facility would be something we'd have. You are not committing the city to any expenditure at this point. What you're doing is just giving us authorization to make the application.
Okay, public hearing. Seeing no public hearing is closed. Council comment or motion is the case.
Question?
Ms. Turner, yes.
Where is the closest restroom now to that ramp? I thought, isn't there one in the Bob Summer ballpark area?
The Bob Summers would be one, and there's also one under the bridge on the other side.
Okay, but the Bob Summers one would be the closest. I mean, I'd love to go pursue a grant, but I would think, why aren't we doing it for some drainage issue or something to help clean up the stormwater wherever else? I just would prefer to see us, seek a grant for it.
I move to adopt as presented.
Second.
Just under comment, are we planning on closing down the restrooms at the Bob Summers?
We do not have plans to close down the restrooms there at this point.
Okay.
One other question, do we have an idea of, increased maintenance costs for adding in another facility?
We would be maintaining it, and I'm not sure what the cost would be at this point. Monty's here.
Where have you been hiding, Monty? I didn't see you during the earlier fray.
Good evening, Monty Falls, Director of Public Works. I've been watching from the safety of my office tonight. So, this restroom facility was brought to us by one, as Mr. O'Connor said, one of the fine commissioners, and the concept is to build a two-station restroom attached to the river house structure that would serve the boat ramp primarily. As the closest restroom that we currently maintain is on the south side of the bridge in the McWilliam Park area, between there and the canal that separates to Riverside Park. There may be some restrooms in Bob Summers. We don't maintain those as our staff. If we added these two, it would add some maintenance cost. Quite frankly, this came up on us pretty quickly, and I haven't had a chance to put those numbers together. But it's just a two-station restroom. The concept would be two unisex restrooms that could be used by either sex, and then would be handicap accessible. But we feel that it's worthwhile to try to get what we're asking for now is the council's authorization to apply for the first part of the grant, which would allow the design phase, and then in the meantime, we would have some chance to get those other cost information back to you. So if we were successful, we would bring that back to you and inform you of that before we recommend any expenditure.
Out of all the other, public works projects we have that might qualify, this is the best, like I said, restrooms is the best we can do instead of putting more stormwater baffles or something else that would help the lagoon.
Well, like I say, this was brought to us by one of the commissioners. It was a small block of funds that he said that may be available, and we felt rather than just let it go by the wayside, we wanted to bring it out and talk about it.
Yeah, and if it's something that's small, you're right, probably not any other project might fit with it, Mr. Falls. But I did find interesting that we don't maintain the bathrooms at Bob Sumner.
I was just getting ready to text Nanette Haynes to make sure, but I have never seen us doing any of the maintenance of anything associated with the interior of Bob Summers. I'm assuming all that was done by the Little League when they were there, and I know our guys don't do it.
Okay. Thank you.
Public hearing? Seeing none, close public hearing. Council comment? Motion?
Mr. Fletcher
I
has
made
a motion on
to
the floor.
adopt.
I'm sorry. I'll call.
And I second.
I'll call the question then.
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mrs. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Winger?
Yes. All right. Now, finally on to 5A, right? And this would be heard again on April 1st, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. First reading by title for ordinances and resolutions that require a future public hearing, which, as I said, would be on April 1st. An ordinance of the City of Vero Beach, Florida, requesting by Roger Lytle, amending the official zoning map by changing the zoning district designation of RM13 high-density multifamily residential district to POI professional office and industrial district for property located at 915 East Causeway Boulevard, Lot 8, Block 4, Pelican Cove 2 subdivision containing 0.34 of an acre, more or less, providing for an effective date, requesting by the Planning Development Director, Mr. McGarry.
This will be a quasi-judicial hearing, so basically I'm just asking you to go ahead and schedule it without any discussion. That's all.
So where do we go from here?
You can open, see if there's any public comments.
Well, this is a quasi-judicial nature. We really should just move it on to the hearing.
All right.
Next hearing date?
Yeah.
Well, it would be April 1st. Is that correct? Is that when you wanted her, Mr. McGarry?
As soon as we'll make that
I'll make a
period of
motion
time.
to approve to April 1st, the next hearing.
Second.
I'll second. Well, Ms. Graves seconded. Mrs. Bach, I'm sorry.
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mrs. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Winger?
Yes, okay, city clerk matters.
I have none.
City manager.
Yes,
matters.
I have one. Last council meeting, you all allowed for the release of the scoreboard and lights and some of the fixtures around the Bob Summers to go to the sports complex. We have found in the meantime, they're actually using county fields, so this may be a transfer of ownership of this equipment to the county that will be permanently attached to their fields, but it will be the county, possibly be the county as opposed to the sports complex. We just want to make the council aware of that. We know that you've already authorized that removal of that equipment and to be used by the Little League. And the intent would be is if it goes to the county, it'll be used on the fields that will be used by the Little League in the city of Vero Beach.
Mr. Mayor, if the ownership is going to be transferred to the county then of this equipment, will we be getting any reimbursement at all for this equipment?
Well, I could speak to that. This organization actually has a lease for these fields on 16th. And the lease provisions provide that they're to make certain improvements to the fields, and the lease does provide that at the end of the term, the property becomes the county's. So whether we donate it to this organization or directly to the county, it's unless the city wants to make provision for removing the property after the lease ends, and we just
I'd
don't
at least
know
like
if
to
it has
retain
much
the
value.
option to. I'm not sure I would want to do it, but I'd at least like to retain the option to do that.
My
What do you
understanding is the county recreation folks are going to take a look at this equipment anyway, see if they even want it, because when they went
may
into
be so
the
obsolete.
lease, when they went into the lease, they may have been thinking they're going to get new improvements. I have no idea.
And the value, according to Rob Slezak and the folks that work around it, is virtually zero at this point. It is pretty old equipment and has been sort of, paper tagged together as time has gone on.
I respect that.
I see no objection. I guess you're okay, Jim. I have a question for you on the diesel plant. Is there any further movement on that? Or I guess that's for Wayne, really.
It's actually just still in the discovery phase. It takes a while.
Okay, city attorney matters then?
I have nothing else.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Absolutely, Mrs. Turner.
I received a copy of the Carroll's response to the litigation. I found it very curious that the only 2 citations ever issued for short-term rentals in Vero Beach were to the Carrolls. Understand that we are responding to this response. Can you tell me what the time frame is?
Well, first of all, is that accurate, Mr. Comet?
Well, Tim would have to address that because we have outside counsel on that, and they report to him because I had a conflict. Miss Carol having been a council member, that created a conflict.
That's not true. We had one back in 2007 or 8 that were given out, and we had another one that paid a $50 fine about the same time that Carol's case. But other than that, most of the time we dealt with phone calls and letters, and people would back off. We didn't have to issue citations. Some people, when you tell them what the rules were, didn't want to follow the rules, and that's how we went through. Okay? Hope
Thank
that
you, Mr.
clarifies
Mayor.
that.
And the time frame then for responding to this, or are we just waiting on legislation?
No, we have our attorneys were responding by I believe they had the 31st to respond. I think it's the 31st. So we will be getting something from our attorneys to respond. And then basically the judges will determine whether there's going to be an oral hearing. We've requested an oral hearing on this. If they request an oral hearing, this thing is going to drag on a little while. So just want you to be aware.
For what it's worth, Senate Bill 356, Thrasher, is ready for the floor. It has passed the committee. And probably, well, who knows what happens in legislatures or city councils. We don't know that. The House version, House Bill 307, is not calendared yet.
I heard there was an amendment to one of those bills.
Yeah,
so I've got to follow that up. I was told there's a 7-day on one of them. There's the House bill or the Senate bill. That they did that.
Yeah.
It's kind of splitting the baby.
Which one it was. Yeah, I knew that it was looking at some amendment. But yeah, I think it is something of interest to the public that we can kind of keep an eye on.
Well, we're going to follow up on that.
The bottom line of this, we're proceeding on with the legalities of what we're doing here and not waiting on any legislation.
That's correct.
All right. I believe that brings us to city council member matters. Is that correct? And I was trying to finish by 9 o'clock. It's 8:59, so I have no comment. Mr. Kramer.
Well, I'll try to be brief. I did attend the Salvation Army volunteer recognition, and the city of Vero Beach did get 2 awards: the group participation award and the Angel Tree Award. Very nice awards. I'm going to probably leave this with Tammy. But the city council did go out, and we rang bells in front of Walmart. It was actually a lot more fun than what I thought it was. But a lot of the city employees went out and participated in a lot of these other events, and the Salvation Army really appreciates it, and I'm really glad they're doing it. We also had 2 St. Patrick's Day parades that I participated in. A lot of excitement, one downtown Vero Beach, and the other, the Oceanside Business Association put on Ocean Boulevard. And we also did Under the Oaks, which was a tremendous success this year. Always look forward to it. It's something that's very special that happens here in Vero Beach. And I'll be short and I'll let it go with that.
Mrs. Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just under correspondence or business, I received a copy of electric timeline that you prepared to council.
Yes.
And I just wanted to know that we need to look at the dates. If you have on June 2001, FMPA enters into Taylor swaps on behalf of the members. Subsequently, you have December 9th, 2004, that the City of Vero Beach notifies FMPA of its intention in 5 years to take zero under the all requirements. The Taylor swaps were somewhere around 2005, 2006.
If you give me that, I appreciate the correction.
So, they entered into those after we had given notification that we would be leaving the all requirements.
And this, if you lend it to me, I'll lend it to Tammy, and we'll get the dates right.
Certainly. Thank you, sir. Try to go through. I'll try to make this short, too. Oceanside businesses, St. Pat's. It was great to see our police honor guard there and the Vero Beach police participation. Thank you very much. I'm always very proud to see our men in uniform there. If these walls could talk, the Heritage Center, highlighting our historical buildings, was a terrific success. They did an incredible job. The laser chrome technologies for the banners were extraordinary. Having the opportunity to talk with people that had lived this history, the Gifford High School group, all of it was just terrific. So we will not be judged by monuments we build, but by those we destroy. And it's kind of their line. That was great. I want to let everybody know about upcoming ORCA. Dr. Edie Witter will be speaking. If you haven't heard her speak, she is terrific. She'll be at the Emerson on Thursday the 27th at 7 o'clock. And her topic will be bloopers of deep sea exploration and other outtakes. So it's bound to be a lot of fun and a great education. Don't forget, Friday the 28th, take your guests that are visiting over to downtown for the sock hop on Main Street. The Shaboom Band will be there from 5:30 to 8:30. Hope to see y'all there. Thanks.
Ms. Graves.
I'm done.
At your age, how can that be?
She's not feeling well. She's not feeling well today.
Mr. Fletcher.
I move we adjourn.
We are adjourned, and we only ran 3 minutes longer.